Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make yellow cupcakes with a chocolate fudge frosting, and this is what they look like. The cupcake is wonderfully soft and moist, has a really nice vanilla flavor. We're going to top that with a creamy, smooth chocolate frosting. And if you want or you don't want, you can use some candy sprinkles or even chocolate sprinkles on top. So the first thing that you will need to do is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. Then you will need a 12-cup cupcake pan or muffin pan. And I've just lined mine with these paper liners. If you want, you can just either butter the cups, or you can even spray them with one of those nonstick sprays. So for the batter, if you have a stand mixer, then you will need your paddle attachment, or you could use a hand mixer for this. This is a really easy batter to make. It's like a dump cake. We're really just dumping all the ingredients into the bowl and mixing them. So the first thing that you will need is 1.5 cups, which is 195 grams of all-purpose flour, plain flour. And then you will need 3/4 of a cup, 150 grams of granulated white sugar, 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of baking powder, and just 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram. I'm using a fine kosher salt. You could use a table salt. So I'm just going to mix this on low speed, just get everything mixed together. So now for our wet ingredients, the important thing is to have everything at room temperature. So you will need 1/2 cup of butter, that's 113 grams. I've cut my butter into cubes just so it really mixes in easy. And you want it quite soft. As you can see, I'm just going to press it down. It's fairly soft. You don't want to use right out of the fridge butter for this. And then you will need 1 large egg at room temperature. That's 50 grams out of the shell. And because it's a yellow cupcake, we're also adding 2 large egg yolks. That's about 35 grams. Have those at room temperature. That's what gives the cupcakes like kind of a yellow color, hence the name, is the egg yolks. And then for flavoring, 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of pure vanilla extract. It's really easy, just dump everything in. And 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams. I'm using a full-fat sour cream, again at room temperature. You could use a plain yogurt. Now, you could use a reduced fat. I wouldn't use a fat-free, but you know, if you want to cut back a little on the fat, you could use a reduced fat. So now what we're going to do is just on low speed, just mix everything until everything's mixed together and all the flour is moistened. And then I'm going to increase the speed of the mixer to medium and just beat it like 30 to 60 seconds. Like, I actually put my timer on just so I can, like, as a guide. What you're looking for is just a satiny smooth batter. That's it. So that's what's going to give us a really nice texture. So you don't want to overmix, just like 30 to 60 seconds. So just on low speed first. So we are done. My kind of cake batter. So now, see, as you can see, it's just wonderfully satiny smooth. So I did only beat that. Once all the ingredients were moistened, then I only beat it for 30 seconds. I did put my timer on. So now there's a little bit of flour on the sides. I'm just going to beat that in my spatula. And so now we're going to, the important thing is just to put about the same amount of batter into each cup so that they bake in about the same time. Now you can do it different ways. You can just use 2 spoons. Or if you have a scoop, you can use that. So, okay, and the last one. Okay. So now, for baking, I'm going to say somewhere between like 18 to 23 minutes, in that range. The reason I give a range, everyone's oven is a little different. So I do like to rotate the pan front to back about halfway through for even baking, so they will rise, and if you touch the center, it will be set. And then of course the toothpick, if you insert a toothpick into the center of one, it will come out clean. So I'm going to say 18 to maybe 23 minutes. Okay, so our cupcakes are done. So put your pan on a wire rack. So as you can see, they rose nice. If you touch the center, feel set, and a toothpick inserted in the center will come out clean. Now, the thing about cakes, especially cupcakes, you have to be very careful, because some people say, well, it's dry tasting. If your cupcake is dry tasting, it is overbaked. So keep in mind that the toothpick test is really good for telling if it's underbaked, because if you put it in and there's batter still on there, you know it's underbaked, but it doesn't tell you whether it's overbaked. That's why I give you a range. So I gave 18 to 23 minutes. I would check it for at least the first time until you understand your oven. Check it maybe at 16 minutes, and then you can just tell by pressing into the center whether it's set, or the toothpick test, just to know. If it's dry tasting, it's overbaked. It's that simple. So now I'm going to let them cool for a couple minutes in the pan, and then I'll use my offset spatula to take them out, and you just kind of like that, and then put them on a wire rack and finish cooling. Once they're at room temperature, we will come back and make our chocolate frosting. So now to start our chocolate frosting, the first thing that you will need to do is have a saucepan of simmering water, and then in a heat-proof bowl, I'm using stainless steel, you will need 4 ounces, which is 115 grams. Now I'm using unsweetened chocolate here. Unsweetened chocolate does not contain any sugar. It is actually quite bitter. You don't eat it like a regular chocolate bar out of hand. It's used for baking, but it gives, in part, such a deep chocolate flavor. So typically you can find it on the baking aisle of your grocery store, and usually it comes like either in little squares or in like a kind of a brick bar form. So you will have to coarsely chop it like I've done here, and then I'm just putting it over my water, and I'm just going to let that melt. Okay, that looks melted. Let's take it off the heat, give it a stir. So now what I'm going to do is just let this cool down to room temperature. Still, no, I don't want to eat that. It's bitter. Let it cool down to room temperature, and so I'll be right back and we'll start our frosting. So now for our frosting. If you have a stand mixer, again, use your paddle attachment, or again, you could use a hand mixer for this. The first thing that you will need is 2/3 of a cup, 150 grams of butter. Have your butter at room temperature, and you could use either salted or unsalted here. I'm just going to beat this on, medium-low speed, just until it's nice and smooth. Okay, So when you're making any batter or frosting, periodically stop, and you want to scrape down the sides and the bottom of your bowl because we want to make sure everything gets mixed together. So next you will need 1 1/3 cups, which is 160 grams of confectioner sugar, also known as powdered or icing sugar. I am sifting it because, you know, powdered sugar tends to have lumps. If you have a sifter, you can use that, or I'm just using a strainer. Looks good. Powdered sugar everywhere. Okay, so put that in there carefully. And then for flavoring, I'm also adding 1 1/2 teaspoons, which is 6 grams of pure vanilla extract. So I'm just going to start on low speed because I don't want that sugar coming up in my face until it's all mixed together. And then I'm going to increase the speed to medium high and just beat it for like maybe a minute or so just to get a little bit of air into the mixture. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, scrape that. So there we have it so far. So now what we're going to do is add our melted chocolate. So what I like to do is just touch it to make sure it's not warm, because what you don't want to do is add warm chocolate to that, because then it kind of melts our frosting, and then you're going to have to put it in the fridge to firm it up. And so just touch it to make sure. So just pour this in. This is a delicious frosting. But I like anything chocolate, so what I'm going to do is beat this like on low speed until it's all mixed together. And then I'm going to increase again to like medium high and beat it for a minute or two just to get a little bit more air into our frosting. Okay. Okay, our frosting is done. Okay. So now we are going to do the swirls, kind of what you get in a bakery. So you will need either a piping bag like I have here, or really you could just use some kind of plastic like a freezer bag and just cut off the end. I'm using a 1M Wilton star tip. You could use any type of tip if you want, a plain. And what I do is, like you can see here, I folded down the lip of that and I put it in a glass. I find that easier to put my frosting. I'm just going to give that a quick stir, make sure everything's mixed together. If your butter was soft or your chocolate was a little warm and your frosting is too soft to pipe, you could just pop it into the refrigerator 10-15 minutes. So actually I'm just going to just hold it, put it in this way, either way, whatever you find easier. Let's put that, that'll be enough for now. If you don't want to pipe, you know, if you're just making this for the kids, I'll show how to do one where you just, but I would probably make a little less frosting, maybe a half to, I should have, you know, when you're putting your tip in, which I didn't, just twist your bag and put it in like that, so then your tip will stay at the bottom. So now I'm just using a scraper. You use a knife just to get the frosting down. Kind of get rid of the air holes, but I think I was saying, if you just want to do a swipe of frosting, maybe you could probably do half to 2/3 the amount. This is the amount of frosting you will need to do your lovely swirls. Or if you love a lot of frosting. Okay, so once you get it all pushed down, then you can just let that go and so once I've pushed it down, then what I do is twist the bag and make sure it's coming to the end here before I start piping. So again, everybody kind of has their signature, how they like to pipe. I like to do the swirl. That's what I always do. So I just start and go around. Like so. You can follow that or you can do it your own way. I'll just do a couple here. And then, now you can just have it like this, or I have, especially kids, they love, I remember when my kids were small and you let them do the candy sprinkles. I mean, it was more candy sprinkles than frosting, so. And the other choice is, of course, your chocolate sprinkles. Like that. If you wanted to not pipe, then just, take a knife or offset spatula and just like so. As much or as little as you want. And I don't know why, I think the kids like the candy sprinkles. Like so. So there's different ways you can do it. So good. And sometimes it's fun just to let your kids frost the cupcakes. I'm going to just try the little one. I'll be good and just have a little frosting. Peel it back. Try it. Oh. The cupcake, it's soft, moist. Sure, you want some? A nice vanilla flavor to it. And of course, that chocolate frosting is, I just love it. It's smooth, it's creamy, it has a deep chocolate flavor. So you must try this. You can cut, of course, a cupcake usually is at its best the first day, but you can cover and store these for a couple days or freeze them, even if they last that long. The one thing I want to say is if you're a subscriber, if not, please subscribe. If you're a subscriber and you're not getting notified from YouTube every time a new video comes out, which is typically most Thursdays, then what you could do is go to our YouTube channel, joybaking.com, and right beside the subscriber button is a little bell, and just press that, and that way YouTube will notify you every time we have a new video. So, until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.